So recently lately on Animal Jam, there's been a lot of discussion about the kind of state of Animal Jam Classic specifically, and to phrase it how I'm probably going to phrase it in the title, why it pretty much sucks right now. There was a video by Regardlessly actually posted a few weeks ago. I watched this when it came out, and I went over a lot of points criticizing the game and why it's pretty bad and a pretty rough state at the moment. However, there is one thing I felt that was missing from that video, is the reasonings behind why a lot of these things are the way they are, and then just some other things in general that I think are objectively pretty bad for Animal Jam right now that either could be fixed or are kind of just out of Animal Jam's control at this point. But yeah, big props to Regardlessly. Their video kind of like took off, so it kind of inspired me to make this one. But I'll leave that link in the description below if you want to check it out. But without further ado, let's hop into the reasons why Animal Jam sucks right now. So first here, I think a big issue is the moderation in the game. It seems like a lot of people are getting away with doing a lot in the game, and things that they would usually get banned for pretty easily back in the day. An example that comes to mind is selling items. That used to be the crucifixion. If you were caught to be doing that on Animal Jam, you would not get out alive, okay? But nowadays, you can see people even just advertising this freely in game, and matter of fact, this is an issue I raised like 3 years ago. I made a video on it talking about the problem with it and how freely people were doing it in game and they were facing zero repercussions for it. And here we are 3 years later again, and the same issue is still persisting. And not only this, it seems the moderation in the game is just very inconsistent at the moment. I know it's probably ironic coming from me, you know, considering some of my most popular videos on the channel are about me getting banned from the game, but even in those videos, it wasn't really consistent bans, if that makes sense. The first one, they never even told me the reason why that account got banned in the first video I made, and in the second one, I got banned for inappropriate language in game, which, if you don't know, is something you usually would get suspended for, and is something people still get suspended for sometimes. But at the same time, sometimes I will see people get permanent bans for inappropriate language in game. I would imagine this might have something to do with the kind of ongoing Predator issue that has increasingly just became more popular over time and had more spotlight shown to it, and they just kind of want to snuff out any kind of inappropriate things in the game being discussed. But in some places as well, they're not even banning those kind of people either, so I don't really know. The moderation on this game is too inconsistent at the moment. And I was going to make a whole separate video talking about the moderation on this game, but I'll just throw it in here because it's the main focus point on this part of the video. A lot of their moderators, or the support employees as well that you know, write tickets to when you have a support request, is just independent contractors and outsourced employees, meaning a lot of them are not actually working in-house at WoWworks, and a lot of them, if I had to assume, probably have like surface level knowledge of the game, or just the knowledge WoWworks felt that was needed for them to actually competently, I guess, reply to support tickets and moderate the games. I imagine there is some moderators that do actually work at WoWworks in-house as well, but I feel like the outsourcing definitely might have something to do with how inconsistent moderating is sometimes. I do know for a fact, if they don't really know what they're doing, they do try to forward it to somebody at WoWworks that does have kind of a ounce of knowledge of what should be happening and what shouldn't be happening or whatever. But a lot of the time, they will kind of just close your request, especially if you're like appealing a ban, for example, which I see a lot of people talking about being banned for no reason as well, which is another video I have had on the channel. This is not a thing. People aren't banned for no reason. Okay, and I know this whole point was about moderation being inconsistent, but when Animal Jam comes to permanent bans, they do try to look at every point possible and make sure if this decision is right. There is such thing as automated bans, which I feel like a lot of people were affected by when the database breach happened, because a lot of people's accounts were hacked and they were automatically banned in the result because the hackers were being banned and the accounts they hacked just got banned by proxy. So I feel like those are the only unfair bans that can justifiably be said that you were banned for no reason, even though technically there was a reason behind it, but it just wasn't your fault pretty much. But needless to say, the moderation needs to improve. Now, the next point here about hackers, this kind of goes hand in hand with the previous part because moderation is pretty bad on this game, but the exploits on this game do not seem to get fixed fairly often anymore, to the point where half of the time if you load into a room, you might see somebody just doing color hacks and public, or just spamming messages freely, because that's like an exploit people use. Because unfortunately, third-party programs that work with this game are fairly accessible for some reason, and if an average Animal Jam player can search it up and download it, I would expect somebody at WoWworks was able to do that too and find a way to, I don't know, patch all those things out. Look, I know it's easier said than done, but you know, this is not a new issue. This has been an issue for about 4 years, where the same program or a similar kind of program has just kind of been imploring people to use it and making hacking on this game fairly easy. And not only that, it implores people to find new exploits to abuse in the game, which, you know, if you take a long look at my channel, you will see me covering them like every other month at this point. And even then, there are some that I didn't cover, and you know, I've just been passed along in Discord DMs. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to say about that, or I don't know what to talk about that for. Or even some exploits that were patched at one point, but now are working again, or a new method was found to abuse it. So I don't know how they are working on, you know, exploit fixing or hacking fixing in general, but it's just very troublesome to see, to say the least. Now, the third point here, the rarity system in the game. Now, this isn't something Animal Jam can really control, even though they have tried doing so in the past, and even recently they still tried to kind of dip their toes into it with releasing their own custom rare items in like limited quantity and stuff. They're trying to have some influence over the in-game economy still. But no, I'm talking about the kind of rarity system overall in comparison to like a few years ago, or just generally in the last few years, how it has been. Because if you are coming back to the game, or you've been playing the game, you will know that the rarity system, I think anyway, has been the worst it has ever been. Now, I briefly talked about selling items near the start of the video when talking about moderation, but the game at this point, a lot of people on the rarity side of the game, so a lot of the kind of main community people, there's been no repercussions for it, that it has become a main place stay thing to do, essentially, where people are just doing it publicly and they're getting away with it, that it has become so ingrained into the game and the community at this point that it is a part of the rarity system now. And it is so ingrained into that rarity system that I see Discord servers and other people talking about items as their worths in not only solids, which is like the main measurement, but also dollars now, which is a surprising thing to see that is so common ground now. Now, there is a reason for this, actually. And again, this is something I've talked about a few years ago. Why I said the Animal Jam economy is broken, and that is because it also relied on the previous point of this video, where hackers were actually having a huge influence over the Animal Jam's economy. You see, over the last few years, Animal Jam had a lot of hackers hacking their game and abusing certain adventures to get a large influx of certain items like solids and other rare spikes from adventures and whatnot, which in turn caused a lot of inflation in the whole games market, essentially. You thought you could get away from inflation in real life? Nope, it is in Animal Jam 2. And I did discuss this in that video I was talking about, and I did say what goes up does come down. And now 3 years later, where a lot of those exploits that I did talk about, they weren't really fixed, but the problem was almost negated. And how Animal Jam did that is just by taking the spikes out of the prize pools, so regular players have to suffer. But regardless, now that there isn't that large influx of the main measurement of the rarity system coming into the game, the kind of entire economy and item worth in general has been on a downward trajectory ever since then. And at this point, we are kind of at a rock bottom, it seems, and I don't imagine it's gonna get better anytime soon, considering items are now being measured in dollar as common ground, which is, again, how is it possible to get away with this at this point, when this used to be something Animal Jam was swinging the banhammer left and right for back in the day? Now, at this point of the video, I'm not going to go too in-depth because it probably would make this video 20 minutes long, because there's a lot of reasons why this game isn't updated anymore. But this is a very big reason on why people are getting kind of increasingly frustrated with Animal Jam AJHQ. The fact that the game isn't updated, and it doesn't seem like that there is going to be a proper update anytime soon. And when I mean by a new update, I mean like something that is genuinely new, not something recolored or re-released or wild weekends or anything like that. While I do enjoy a lot of these things, a lot of players for the the kind of hardcore players, I guess, that have been playing a very long time are getting increasingly sick of these things and want new things to freshen up the game, which I definitely see that point as well. And obviously I would not be not in favor of that. Actually, I do really want that, but with how the game is, it's just not possible. If you want like a more in-depth part of this, you can check out the video on screen. This kind of covers everything in depth on why this is, you know, the way it is. But I will say, from those wild weekends and the recolor items, a big issue with this at the moment for me anyway, personally, is the fact that they are recoloring items to items that already exist. My previous video on the channel actually was talking about this, where they recolored spikes and it looked eerily similar to actual existing colors, which kind of negates the point of what is even the point of getting the rare version if you can just get a diamond shop version of it. And I doubt it's gonna have any impact on the rarity, but because they are technically different, even though if it's very subtle, and I really doubt it's gonna affect the rarity, and probably hasn't. But you know, this is the most recent example of it. It's been happening for years now, and just the recolors in general sometimes are just straight dookie. I cannot lie. You know, the recolors are very simple for them to make, and I'm not just saying that from an outsider point of view. Like, as a technical point of view, they are very simple to make, and I just wish that they would do something more exciting with it, given how stale and bored players are getting of these kind of ugly recolors, to say the least. But hey, maybe they'll listen to the feedback eventually and you know, kind of fix up on these things. Now, if you've logged into Animal Jam over the last few years, you probably know that this game is pretty poorly optimized. Matter of fact, if you play the game for at least 20 to 30 minutes, your game will turn into a slideshow. It's not a good experience, to say the least. And in comparison to previous years, when the game was on web, this was always a issue, but it didn't happen as kind of fast as it does now. And the reason for this is because Animal Jam is on an Electron app that still does utilize Flash on your own computer. So I know Flash has shut down for a lot of web browsers, but the Animal Jam app itself actually still runs on it. It has it built into it, essentially, because it is an Electron app. And how the game is optimized, it pretty much loads everything and keeps it loaded, I'm pretty sure, the entire time you're playing. So the more you load more assets in, the laggier you are going to get, and the slower the game is going to become as a result of that, unfortunately. This is something they did want to fix on and kind of rework the whole game on, and that was kind of my video talking about Animal Jam 2, which is like a whole fiasco as well in itself, which I'll probably have another video kind of updating on that eventually. But with how they are right now, reworking the entire game is just, one, out of their budget, and two, isn't even worth it for them because they know people will still play the game anyway. This is more so just like a bothersome thing. Like, in theory, it is a pretty easy fix where you spend 30 minutes, you get laggy, and then you just kind of close the game and open it again, and it kind of fixes itself. But you know, it is something you will have to repeat if you're playing in long sessions, and it isn't even something any of us should have to deal with because the game should be optimized. But yeah, that is why the game is so poorly optimized. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up here. Those are the kind of reasons why the game objectively, I think, is pretty bad right now, and the reasons why they are the way they are, if that makes sense. A lot of these in theory can be fixed over time. It's just more so question if it ever will get fixed because of how unstable this game specifically is now. And while a lot of these points were kind of more directed to people that have been playing the game for a long time or have played the game in the past, a lot of new players theoretically aren't going to face a lot of these issues, especially if they're like brand new fresh players and they're just enjoying the game for what is there, and that's it. And I will say, as a final closing note, that technically Animal Jam was sunsetted ages ago, even when the name transitioned from Animal Jam to Animal Jam Classic. Theoretically, WildWorks does not even have to support this game anymore, much more than they already do, and they still do, so that's kind of a good thing in my opinion, even if that might make me sound like a WildWorks meat muncher. It is the truth. But without further ado, guys, we're gonna wrap up this video here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on if you guys want to be notified on future videos, as well as videos just like this one. Make sure to leave a like on it if you did enjoy it, and do let me know in the comment section below what do you guys think sucks about Animal Jam. Do let me know in the comments also I talk about this, and yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one.